morning, everybody. Just have a lot of things on my mind today. I noticed something very interesting. I would like to see something to disprove what I'm saying. I like to hear different views. I don't like to just, live in a bubble where my own views are regurgitated and I don't have challenges. I like to listen to different political views, different religious views. And yet, I feel that in a great way, listening to opposing views helps me to be stronger in my own views, understand my own views, and also sometimes I change my views somewhat. Don't remain totally static. Generally, it's not a radical change, but I get to understand myself more through reflecting on others. I really don't understand hatred, the utter and absolute hatred that so many people have for the president. I mean, I personally did not have him as my first choice or my second or third. I said many times during the election, if it was almost anyone else but Hillary Clinton, I would have probably voted third party, because I was not happy with Donald Trump. But the things that, to me, I was not happy with Donald Trump are things that should endear him to the left. I mean, if anything, he's a man who is so right in the middle that he should be the perfect person to bring this country together and mend all of the, be really the president for all Americans. He's a figure, not comparing him exactly, but he is, I'll say it like this. I mentioned, I think it was the 4th of July, how the crown heads of Europe would claim a divine right of kings based on a claim that they come from King David. And based on that claim, they claim their right, a divine right, given by God to reign as a king. But in Renaissance age, David, who was a monarch, was seen by the men of the Renaissance as a symbol of republicanism, little r republicanism. I said before, so many people accuse Judaism of being racist. You know, I answer questions sometimes in Quora. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. And I had a question this morning, which I was not the first one to answer, and I echoed a lot of the other answers. I said, does Judaism have anything positive to say about the seed of Esau? Or is it totally and utterly irredeemable? And my answer, which others answered as well, is twofold. Demonstrate two things. One, the Jewish tradition claims that the prophet Ovadia Novi, was a proselyte from Edom. He was the descendant of Esau, converted to Judaism. Now some people will say, if you read Obadiah, which is the shortest book of the Bible, if we consider it to be a book, in the Jewish tradition, we generally consider the 12 prophets, often called minor prophets, to be one single book, which is how it's presented traditionally, that it would be written into one scroll, the 12 prophets. It's interesting how a lot of people will say it's an insult to call them the minor prophets. The matter is that they're called minor not in their stature. They were indeed great prophets. Everyone knows that. Just that their books were short, and because of the fear that these books would be lost, sages put them together, the men of the Great Assembly, the synagogue, essentially. We could very strongly say in the sense how often they talk of the church as the institution of Christendom, and you hear people say the synagogue, and it just doesn't sound quite the same. But the Anshe Knesset Gadola, the men of the Great Assembly, synagogue means assembly place of assembly, house of assembly. So basic Knesset, so Anshe Knesset Gadola, that's the synagogue. With the capital S, the institution of the synagogue. And they laid the framework for the Talmud, and they were included among them some of those quote-unquote minor prophets were those who founded the synagogue, capital S, the Anshe Knesset Gadola. Great synagogue. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I'm very tired. Now, the irony is that Obadiah was a Ger Tzedek. He was a convert from Edom, according to the Jewish tradition. And if you read his prophecies, 21 verses altogether, it's the shortest book in the Bible, in the format that we call 39 books, as opposed to the Jewish tradition that identifies those 39 as 24. It's neither here nor there for now to discuss. We mentioned a bit of that. You know, all those books that are like first and second are considered one book. For example, Samuel, Kings, and Chronicles are considered one book. As Ezra and Nehemiah also considered to be one book, and the 12 quote-unquote minor prophets, and it's not an insult that we're saying minor in the sense of the length of their books. Now, Obadiah prophesied against Edom. So that's the irony there. The sages point out that David, who came from Moabite lineage from Ruth, fought against the Moabites. And concerning these two and others, the sages say in the Talmud, the Narga Minei Ubei, that the handle for the axe, Matisyahu had a song like this, the handle for the axe comes from the forest itself. That the very thing that's going to chop down comes from the forest. The depth of that statement also contains the positivity in everything, the positive holiness available in everything. And so therefore we point out Obadiah, but we also point out Antoninus, who Jewish tradition likes to identify with Marcus Aurelius, and I don't blame them, even though there were others who had named Antoninus, including Marcus Aurelius' own father. There's really no source that Marcus Aurelius ever named Antoninus, but nonetheless, we in the Jewish tradition we often will identify people by their fathers. Maimonides becomes the last name, even though it just means the son of Maimon. His first name was Moses Maimonides. Musa ibn Mamun is how he was known. It's interesting. A Rashi I've seen being called Isaacides. Just a curiosity there. We're familiar with Maimonides and Nachmanides, but who knows who is Solomon Isaacides? It's Rashi. Just a curious thing. So Rashi published. Marcus Aurelius, there's some discussion whether or not he converted. Let's assume